You've been talking to yourself your whole life, but the problem is you don't even realize the damage you've been doing. Every time you tell yourself you're not enough, every time you whisper defeat before the battle even begins, you are programming your mind to accept weakness. I know this truth because I had to fight it myself. Before I mastered my fists, I mastered my words. Before I broke bones, I broke the chains of my own inner voice. For 3 days, if you speak to yourself the way I'm about to show you, you will feel your mind change. You will see your confidence rise. You will no longer walk like a victim. You will move like a warrior who knows his own power. The question is, are you ready to challenge the voice inside you? Because once you do, nothing in this world will ever control you again. Speak with clarity, not confusion. When I was younger, my mind was like a crowded room filled with voices all talking at the same time. One voice told me I was strong, another whispered that I was weak. One told me my vision was powerful, another mocked me and said no one would ever care. I used to ask myself over and over, am I really good enough? Do I have the skill? Will people respect what I am trying to create? These questions circled around in my head until I felt paralyzed. Confusion became my greatest opponent. It wasn't the man standing in front of me in combat who slowed me down. It was the storm of uncertainty inside my own head. Every time I hesitated, every time I doubted, I lost a little more of my power. But then I learned something life-changing. When I spoke to myself with clarity, when I removed hesitation and replaced it with certainty, my whole being shifted. I began to tell myself, you know who you are. You know what you are capable of. You know what needs to be done, so do it without delay. Those words acted like a sword cutting through the fog that had been clouding my mind. Suddenly, my movements became sharper, my decisions became quicker, and my energy was no longer scattered. Clarity is not just about thinking clearly, it is about speaking clearly to yourself because your body, your spirit, your entire being responds to the commands you give it. Think about it. When you speak with hesitation, when you constantly tell yourself maybe, perhaps one day, possibly, you are planting seeds of weakness in your mind. You are programming yourself to wait, to doubt, to delay. That hesitation creates hesitation in your actions. But when you speak with conviction, when you say, this is who I am, this is what I will do, this is what I will become, your words create momentum. They carry power, and that power shapes your actions. Clarity creates flow, confusion creates hesitation. And in life, hesitation is defeat. For the next 3 days, I want you to practice stripping away every vague word from your self-talk. Do not say, maybe I will start tomorrow. Say, I begin today. Do not say one day I will become stronger. Say, I am building strength right now. Stop hiding behind the language of uncertainty and step into the language of clarity. The moment you speak with certainty, you will feel your energy shift. You will feel your body align with your words, and your life will begin to move in the direction of your clarity. 2. Replace weak words with strong ones. Words are not just sounds that leave your mouth. They are instructions you give to your mind, commands that shape how your body and spirit respond. When I was training, I realized something important. Every time I told myself this is too difficult, I felt my energy weaken. My muscles grew heavier, my focus scattered, and even my breathing became shallow. It wasn't because I lacked ability. It was because I gave myself an order through my own words, and my body obeyed. Weak words create a weak state. Strong words create a strong state. This is a truth you cannot escape. When I was a young fighter, there were moments when my body screamed in pain, when my muscles shook after hours of training, and when my lungs burned from pushing beyond my limits. I could have said, I cannot go further, I cannot endure this. And if I had said those words, I would have stopped, but I refused to let weak language guide me. Instead, I told myself, this challenge is not here to defeat me, it is here to sharpen me. This pain is not a signal to quit, it is proof that I am becoming stronger. When I replaced weak words with strong ones, my body found new energy, my spirit rose, and I broke limits I once thought were unbreakable. You see, most people do not realize that their vocabulary is shaping their destiny. Every time you say, I can't, I don't, I won't, it's impossible, you are teaching your subconscious mind to surrender. You are lowering your own shield before the battle has even begun. But when you speak words like I can, I will, I must, it is possible, you are forging armor that cannot be pierced by fear or doubt. Your words become the first strike you throw in any fight. If they are weak, you lose before you begin. If they are strong, you set the tone for victory. For the next 3 days, I want you to pay close attention to the words you use, even in small things. When you face difficulty, instead of saying, this is too much for me, say, this is making me stronger. When you feel nervous, do not say, I'm too afraid. Say, I am learning courage right now. When you want to achieve something, do not say, I hope it happens someday. Say, I will make it happen, step by step. The difference may look small, but the impact is enormous because every time you replace weakness with strength, you train your mind to obey strength. Remember this, your words are seeds. If you plant weak seeds, you harvest weakness. If you plant strong seeds, you harvest power. And once you learn to master the words you speak to yourself, you will notice that you carry yourself differently, you act differently, and even others around you will feel the strength of your presence. Speak weakness, and you live in weakness. Speak strength, and you live in strength. The choice is always yours, and it begins with the next word you allow to come out of your mouth. 3, command your energy. Your energy is not something random that appears and disappears without reason. It is not luck, and it is not magic. It is something you command, something you direct, something you have power over if you learn how to use your words. I discovered this truth in the middle of combat, where every second mattered and every movement carried the difference between victory and defeat. Before any punch was thrown, before any kick was delivered, the real battle began in my mind. If I allowed my inner voice to whisper weakness, if I told myself this opponent is too fast, too strong, too big, my body immediately responded to that command. My shoulders tightened, my movements slowed, my energy became stiff, and my rhythm collapsed. Fearful words created a fearful body. My opponent did not defeat me. I defeated myself with the language I allowed in my head. But when I shifted the words, when I spoke to myself with clarity and strength, everything changed. I told myself, be water, flow, adapt. Do not fight with tension, fight with rhythm. Do not be rigid, be flexible. Do not see a giant in front of you, see only another man with weaknesses waiting to be exposed. The moment I gave myself that command, my body obeyed. I moved with ease. I flowed like a river around obstacles, and I struck like a storm when the time was right. It was not my opponent's size or strength that decided the outcome. It was my energy, and my energy was shaped by the words I spoke to myself. You see, energy is like an army, and your words are its general. If you command your energy with fear, it retreats. If you command your energy with doubt, it hides. But if you command your energy with confidence, with focus, with certainty, it surges forward like a force of nature. Most people drain their own power, not because life is too heavy, but because their words are too weak. They wake up and say, I am tired, I am stressed, I cannot handle this day. And so the day becomes heavy because they commanded it to be. But if they woke up and said, I am strong, I am ready, I will take on what comes with focus and calm, the day would bend to their command instead. Think of your mind and body as one. The mind speaks, and the body follows. If you constantly tell yourself, I have no energy, I cannot continue, your body listens. It slows down, it collapses, it gives up. But if you tell yourself, I am filled with energy, I will keep going, I can adapt, I can endure, your body believes you and begins to act accordingly. It draws from reserves you never knew existed. It pushes beyond limits that once felt impossible. That is the hidden strength you unlock when you learn to command your energy. For the next 3 days, I want you to practice this. Each time you feel drained, each time life presses against you, stop and listen to the words in your head. Do they sound weak or do they sound strong? Do they drain you or do they fill you? If you find weakness, correct it immediately. Replace it with words that fuel you, that remind you of your strength, that tell your body what to do instead of letting your fears decide for you. Do not allow your energy to wander without direction. Lead it, command it, shape it. Remember this, you are not a victim of random moods or passing emotions. You are the master of your inner state if you are willing to take control of your self-talk. The way you speak to yourself is the way your energy will rise or fall. Speak like a commander, and your energy will march behind you. Speak like a victim, and your energy will abandon you. The choice is always yours. Command your energy, and you will never again be powerless in the face of life's challenges. 4. Talk to your pain like a master. Pain is something every human being knows. It comes in many forms, sometimes in the body, sometimes in the mind, sometimes in the heart. But what most people never learn is that pain is not the enemy. Pain is a messenger, a teacher, and if you know how to speak to it, you will transform it from a force that crushes you into a force that shapes you. When I was young and training endlessly, my days were filled with broken bones, bruised ribs, pulled muscles, and exhaustion so deep it felt like my body was screaming at me to stop. In those moments, I had a choice. I could listen to the pain like a slave listens to his master, obeying its command to quit, or I could talk back to the pain, like a master speaks to a servant, telling it what role it would play in my life. At first, like many others, I feared pain. I thought it was a signal that I was weak, that I should retreat, that I had reached the edge of my capacity. But slowly, through experience, I realized that pain was only showing me where growth was happening. It was proof that my body was being pushed into new territory, proof that I was not staying in the comfort zone where nothing changes. I began to talk differently to my pain. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me? I can't take it anymore," I told myself. This pain is my teacher. It is not here to break me. It is here to build me. It is the fire that forges the steel. The moment I shifted my words, my entire relationship with pain transformed. I no longer looked at it with fear. I welcomed it as part of the process. I would say to myself, yes, my muscles are burning, but that burn is creating strength. Yes, my body is aching, but that ache is carving out resilience. Yes, my heart is heavy with struggle, but that weight is expanding my spirit. By speaking to my pain this way, I stopped being its victim. I became its master, and in mastering it, I gained a freedom that very few ever experience. The freedom to grow beyond limits, the freedom to endure what others cannot, the freedom to face life's storms without running from them. Understand this, when you cry out to your pain and weakness, it takes power over you. But when you answer pain with strength, it loses control. Most people treat pain like a tyrant, bowing to it, begging it to go away. They don't realize they have the power to stand tall in front of it and declare, "You will not define me, you will refine me." Once you talk to pain with authority, it cannot break your spirit, no matter how intense it becomes. For the next 3 days, I want you to change the way you speak to pain. Whether it is the physical pain of fatigue, the emotional pain of disappointment, or the mental pain of struggle, do not use words of surrender. Do not say, "I can't handle this. This is unfair. I am too weak." Instead, tell yourself, This pain is a lesson. This pain is shaping me. This pain is temporary, but the strength I gain from it will last forever. The moment you speak this way, you will notice something incredible. The pain does not disappear, but your relationship to it changes. It no longer feels like an enemy attacking you. It feels like an ally guiding you toward mastery. Remember this truth. The man who fears pain will always live small, avoiding discomfort, never reaching his potential. But the man who talks to his pain with courage will rise above it, using it as a stepping stone toward greatness. Do not run from pain. Do not curse it. Speak to it, command it, and transform it into a teacher that works for you. That is how you stop being a slave to suffering and become a master of your own growth. 5. Speak into your future. When I was a young man, before the world knew my name, before I ever stood in front of cameras or taught in crowded studios, I already spoke into my future. I was not yet famous. I did not have wealth, and I did not have recognition. What I had were words, and I used those words to plant the seeds of the life I wanted to live. Every morning I reminded myself my art will not be confined to this small room. My philosophy will not remain hidden. What I know, what I live, what I believe will reach beyond these walls, beyond this city, beyond this moment in time. People laughed when they heard me speak like this. They thought I was arrogant, unrealistic, even foolish. But what they did not understand was that I was not simply speaking empty words. I was programming my future. You see, the words you use to describe yourself and your path are like a blueprint. Your mind listens carefully to the instructions you give it, and then it begins to shape your thoughts, your decisions, and your actions to match that design. Most people sabotage themselves because the only future they ever speak into existence is small, uncertain, or filled with fear. They tell themselves, I will never achieve this. I will probably fail. I don't deserve much. Life will always be hard for me. And because they speak these words, they begin to live inside the prison they built with their own tongue. What they do not realize is that every word is a seed. If you speak weakness, you plant weakness into the soil of your future. If you speak strength, you plant strength. When I trained, I used my words not just to push through pain in the moment, but to shape the man I was becoming. I told myself, I am not just fighting for this day. I am building a legacy. I am not just training to win matches. I am training to redefine martial arts, to show the world a new way of thinking, a new way of moving, a new way of being. Those words pulled me forward even when my body was tired and my spirit was low. They became a vision that reminded me of where I was going. And because I kept speaking it, I started to see opportunities that others missed. I started to make decisions that aligned with that vision. And slowly, my future began to unfold in the very way I had spoken it. Many of you are trapped in cycles of frustration because you only speak about the present. And worse, you describe it with negativity. You say things like, my life is hard. I am unlucky. Nothing ever works for me. I will never get out of this situation. By repeating this daily, you carve that reality deeper into your mind, and your actions unconsciously reinforce it. But if you begin to speak differently, if you tell yourself daily, I am walking toward success, I am shaping a greater future, I am becoming stronger, wiser, and more disciplined every single day, your present begins to align with that vision. It may not happen overnight, but your subconscious mind will start guiding you toward the life you keep describing. Let me tell you this clearly. Your words are not powerless. They are energy, and energy moves in the direction of the focus you give it. When you speak into your future with strength, you give your mind a compass. Without that compass, you wander aimlessly. With it, you move forward with direction. Too many people let their future be shaped by fear because that is what they keep repeating to themselves. But if you want your future to change, you must first change the language you use to describe it. For the next 3 days, I want you to practice this deliberately. Each morning, before you step out into the world, speak into your future as if you are already walking inside it. Say to yourself, I am building a disciplined, powerful life. I am creating success step by step. I am shaping a future where I am free, strong, and unshakable. Do not just whisper it once. Repeat it until it begins to feel real, until your mind starts to believe it. Because once your mind believes, your actions will follow, and your reality will eventually catch up. When I declared my future, people doubted me. They thought my vision was too large, too unrealistic for a young man from Hong Kong. But I never let their disbelief infect my inner voice. I reminded myself daily that my words held more power over me than their opinions. And I was right. The life I spoke became the life I lived. If you learn to do the same, you will notice that doors open where you once saw walls, that strength appears where you once saw weakness, and that opportunities reveal themselves where before there was only emptiness. Remember this truth: the future is not waiting for you, it is listening to you. It is shaped by the words you speak today. If you tell yourself you are broken, you will walk into a broken tomorrow. If you tell yourself you are powerful, you will walk into a powerful tomorrow. Do not waste your voice describing only what is wrong in your life. Use it to declare what will be right, what will be built, what will be conquered. That is how you stop being a prisoner of your present and begin being the architect of your destiny. So speak into your future with courage. Speak into your future with clarity. Speak into your future with strength. Do this for 3 days and you will begin to feel your life shift. Not because the world suddenly changes, but because you will begin to change. And once you change, the world cannot help but follow. 6. Correct your inner critic. Every single one of us carries a voice inside our head. Some call it doubt, some call it fear, some call it the inner critic. I call it the opponent within. This voice does not come from the outside. It does not come from your enemies or from those who doubt you. It comes from you, and it is often the hardest opponent to face. In my own life, I heard that voice many times. It told me, "You are not strong enough. You are too small. Your philosophy is too different. No one will listen. You will fail before you even begin." And for a time, that voice almost succeeded in slowing me down. But I discovered something that changed everything. You do not silence the inner critic by ignoring it. You silence it by confronting it, correcting it, and reshaping it into a voice that works for you, not against you. Most people live their entire lives as slaves to that critic. They allow it to speak without challenge, and because it comes from inside, they believe it must be true. If your mind says I am weak, you believe it. If your mind says I will fail, you accept it. And without realizing it, you build your entire reality based on lies whispered by your own thoughts. But I tell you this, your mind is not always telling the truth. It is reflecting fear, past pain, and insecurity. If you do not correct it, it will continue to sabotage you. If you do correct it, you can turn that same voice into your greatest ally. When I trained, there were times my inner critic was loud. It told me that my body was too tired, that my opponents were too skilled, that my vision was too big for the world to accept. If I had listened, I would have stopped. But I did not let that critic dominate me. Instead, I became ruthless with it. Each time it said, "You are not enough," I answered, "I may not be perfect, but I am improving every day. I am growing stronger, I am becoming better, and I am not finished." When it told me, "You will fail," I responded, "Failure is not the end. It is only feedback. Every mistake I make brings me closer to mastery." By speaking back with strength, I began to reprogram the critic. Over time, it lost its power to intimidate me. Think of your inner critic as a child who has learned to speak the wrong language. If you allow it to continue, it will keep repeating negativity. But if you teach it a new language, words of strength, clarity, and encouragement, it will begin to support you instead of tearing you down. You cannot allow your critic to speak unchecked. Each time it rises, you must challenge it. If it says, "I cannot do this," you must correct it immediately. I can, I will, and I am learning how. If it says, I always fail, you must answer, I have failed before, but I have also succeeded, and I will succeed again. This is how you train the mind as you train the body, with discipline, repetition, and correction. For the next 3 days, I want you to become conscious of that inner critic. Pay attention to the words it uses. Write them down if you must. You will be surprised how often it speaks, how often it repeats the same lies, and how often you believe them without question. Once you see them clearly, begin correcting them one by one. If your critic tells you that you are not disciplined, tell yourself, I am building discipline step by step. If it tells you that you are not worthy, answer, I am worthy because I continue to grow, to fight, to rise. If it tells you that your dream is impossible, respond, the only impossible thing is a dream that is never pursued. You see, the critic feeds on silence. When you do not answer it, it grows stronger. But when you confront it with strength, it begins to shrink. Over time, the critic becomes quiet, and in its place, a new voice emerges, the voice of your inner coach, the voice of your inner master. That voice encourages you, guides you, and reminds you of your progress. That is the voice you want leading your life. But you cannot create it unless you first confront and correct the critic. I know this because I lived it. If I had not corrected my own critic, I would never have stepped beyond the boundaries others set for me. I would never have left Hong Kong to teach in America. I would never have stood in front of cameras when the world told me that someone like me could never succeed in Hollywood. My critic was loud, but I became louder. And that is what allowed me to shape my destiny instead of surrendering it. So remember this, you will always have an inner voice. You cannot erase it, but you can train it. Do not let it remain your greatest enemy. Correct it and make it your ally. For 3 days, practice this discipline. Each time the critic rises, answer with clarity and strength. Do not let a single lie go unchallenged. Soon you will notice that the critic no longer controls you. You control it. And once you master that voice inside, no voice outside of you will ever have the power to stop you again. 7. Affirm discipline every morning. Discipline is the foundation upon which everything else in your life rests. Without it, talent is wasted. Without it, strength is scattered. Without it, even the most brilliant mind falls into disorder. Discipline is not something you wait to feel. It is not something you hope will appear in your life like a gift. Discipline is something you declare, something you affirm, something you train like a muscle until it becomes part of your nature. And the best time to begin shaping it is in the very first moments of your day. When I was alive and building myself into the man the world came to know, people often admired my speed, my power, my flow in martial arts. But very few understood the real reason behind it, discipline. Every morning before the day began, I set the tone with my words. I reminded myself that a man who does not control his mind will always be a slave to it. And I refused to be a slave. I told myself, I am disciplined. I am focused. I am in command of my body, my thoughts, and my spirit. These affirmations were not empty words. They were the first strike of the day. They shaped the way I trained, the way I acted, the way I lived. Most people lose before the day even starts because they wake up and immediately surrender to weakness. They tell themselves, I am tired, I don't want to get up, maybe I will skip my responsibilities today, maybe I will start tomorrow. By speaking this way, they plant the seed of defeat before the sun has even risen. And once you plant weakness in the morning, it grows throughout the day. But if you wake and speak discipline into your mind, you set the foundation for victory. It is like stepping into a battle with your sword already drawn, your stance already firm, your spirit already sharp. When you affirm discipline in the morning, you are not only preparing for the struggles of that day, you are training your identity. You are reminding yourself of who you are and who you are becoming. You are saying, I am the type of person who does what needs to be done, whether I feel like it or not. I am the type of person who honors my word, who follows through, who refuses to be broken by laziness or distraction. That identity, repeated day after day, becomes unshakable. And once your identity is disciplined, you no longer waste energy arguing with yourself about what must be done. You simply do it. Let me tell you how powerful this is. When I was building my body and refining my philosophy, there were many mornings when my body was exhausted from the day before. My muscles ached, my bones throbbed, and my spirit wanted to rest. In those moments, the inner critic would whisper, "Stay in bed, skip today, you deserve a break." But before I even allowed those thoughts to grow, I cut them with my affirmations. I told myself, I control my mind, I control my actions, and I control my destiny. Discipline is my foundation, and I will not betray it. With those words, my body rose even when it was tired. My spirit pushed even when it was weary, and my vision carried me forward when comfort tried to pull me back. Understand this clearly. Discipline is not about punishment. It is not about forcing yourself into a life of misery. Discipline is about freedom. The man without discipline is a prisoner to his moods, his emotions, his desires, his distractions. He does what he feels like doing, and because feelings change with the wind, his life never builds anything solid. But the man with discipline is free because he is not controlled by impulse. He chooses his actions, he chooses his path, he chooses his destiny. He does not wait for motivation, he creates it through habit. For the next 3 days, I want you to begin each morning by affirming discipline. Before you touch your phone, before you speak to anyone else, before you are swallowed by the noise of the world, stand up, breathe deeply, and speak to yourself with authority. Tell yourself, I am disciplined. I am focused. I control my mind, and my mind does not control me. I do what must be done, no matter how I feel. I am a warrior. I am a creator. I am the master of my life. Repeat it until your voice is steady, until your body believes it, until you feel your spirit rise with strength. Do not underestimate the power of these words. At first, they may feel strange, even forced. You may feel like you are only pretending. But discipline is like training a muscle. You do not become strong after one push-up. You become strong by repeating the movement day after day until strength becomes natural. The same is true with discipline. Affirm it daily, and soon it will no longer feel like words. It will feel like truth, because your actions will begin to align with your affirmations. You will wake earlier, you will train harder, you will stay focused longer, you will resist distractions more easily, and slowly you will notice that the man you declared in the morning has become the man you are living in the evening. This is why I say that affirming discipline every morning is not just about the day ahead. It is about shaping the course of your life. 1 day of discipline is powerful. 3 days of discipline is stronger. But a lifetime of discipline built by affirmations and actions that reinforce them is unstoppable. The world cannot bend a man who has mastered himself. Obstacles cannot defeat him. Failure cannot break him. Criticism cannot derail him, because his foundation is discipline, and that foundation does not crumble. So remember this, my friend. Do not wait for discipline to appear. Do not wait for perfect conditions or endless motivation. Create discipline with your words. Affirm it every morning, and then live it through your actions. For 3 days, test this practice. Watch how your mornings change. Watch how your energy sharpens. Watch how your spirit begins to feel stronger, calmer, and more unshakable. And when you see that change, do not stop. Continue until discipline becomes your very nature. The man who does not affirm discipline in the morning will always spend his life reacting to the world, chasing comfort and regretting wasted time. But the man who begins each day by declaring, I am disciplined, I am focused, I am in command of myself, will live a life of power, freedom, and mastery. Which one will you choose? 8. Become the master of your inner conversation. If there is one truth I discovered through the battles of my life, both in the arena of martial arts and in the silence of my own mind, it is this: the most important conversation you will ever have is not with your teacher, not with your opponent, not even with your loved ones. The most important conversation you will ever have is the one you carry on with yourself. That inner dialogue, that constant stream of thoughts and words echoing inside your head, is either the greatest ally you will ever know or the most dangerous enemy you will ever face. If you do not master it, it will master you. If you do not take control of it, it will control you. And the direction it takes you will determine the entire course of your life. Think about how much time you spend inside your own head. From the moment you wake until the moment you sleep, your mind is speaking. It comments on what you see, it judges what you feel, it creates stories about what may happen in the future. Most people allow this inner conversation to run wild, like an undisciplined child. They repeat negative phrases endlessly. I can't do this. I'm not enough. I always fail. No one respects me. Life is unfair. They do not even notice they are speaking these words to themselves, yet their body reacts, their energy lowers, and their actions follow the direction of those thoughts. Without realizing it, they become slaves to the words of their own inner conversation. I refuse to live that way. When I was young, I realized that if my inner voice was not trained, it would destroy me faster than any opponent ever could. So I began to treat my self-talk the same way I treated my martial arts practice, with discipline, with awareness, with precision. Just as I corrected my form in training, I corrected my words in my mind. If I caught myself saying, "This is too hard," I immediately replaced it with, "This difficulty is making me stronger." If I thought, "No one will believe in me," I replaced it with, "I believe in myself, and that is enough to begin." I trained my self-talk until it became my greatest coach instead of my harshest critic. Understand this. You cannot escape talking to yourself. It is the one relationship you can never walk away from. You may lose friends, you may lose teachers, you may even lose opponents, but you will never lose yourself. And if you are condemned to live with that voice forever, why would you allow it to be your enemy? Why would you allow it to poison you with doubt, with fear, with weakness? You must take command. You must stand as the master of your inner conversation and decide what kind of words are spoken in your mind. The way you do this is not by force, but by awareness and replacement. Awareness means you begin to notice your self-talk. You do not let it whisper in the background without paying attention. You observe it as though you are watching a student or sparring partner. You listen carefully to the phrases that repeat most often. Then comes replacement. If the words are weak, you do not let them linger. You immediately replace them with stronger words. This is not about pretending. It is not about lying to yourself. It is about giving your mind commands that move you forward instead of holding you back. When I was injured, when my back was broken, and doctors told me I would never practice martial arts again, my inner conversation became the most important weapon I had. If I had allowed my mind to repeat, "It's over, you are finished, your life has ended," then I would have surrendered to despair. But I spoke differently. I told myself, "This is not the end. This is a challenge. I will rise again. My body may be hurt, but my spirit is unbreakable. My future is not over. It is being reshaped." And with that inner conversation, I rebuilt myself. Slowly, with discipline and with faith in my words, I returned stronger than before. That would never have happened if I had let the critic dominate my inner dialogue. For the next 3 days, I challenge you to master this same practice. Pay attention to every inner conversation you have. Do not allow negative words to pass without correction. If you catch yourself saying, "I am weak," stop and replace it with, "I am learning strength." If you hear yourself thinking, "I always fail," replace it with, "I am still becoming, and every setback is teaching me something valuable." If you whisper, "I can't handle this," immediately shift it to, "I can handle this step by step, breath by breath, with patience and focus." This is how you reprogram your inner voice. This is how you become the master of your own conversation. Why is this so powerful? Because the words you repeat to yourself daily do not remain words. They become beliefs. And your beliefs shape your decisions, your actions, your habits, and finally, your destiny. If you believe you are weak, you will act weak. If you believe you are destined to fail, you will sabotage yourself at every step. But if you believe you are capable, disciplined, and unstoppable, your actions will follow, and your destiny will rise to meet those beliefs. Discipline, strength, clarity, courage. These are not built in silence. They are built in conversation, in the words you feed your mind every single day. The most dangerous man in the world is the one who has mastered his inner dialogue, because nothing from the outside can corrupt him. No insult, no rejection, no failure can shake him, because his own words are stronger than anything thrown at him. He lives by his own voice, not the voices of the world. For 3 days, train your inner conversation with the same seriousness you would train your body. Replace every weak word with a strong one. Replace every doubt with determination. Replace every complaint with a commitment. Do this with discipline, and you will feel something shift inside you. Your energy will rise, your focus will sharpen, your actions will flow with more certainty. And once you master this practice, you will no longer fear the critic inside or the chaos outside. You will know that the voice guiding you belongs to you, and it is strong, clear, and unshakable. So I ask you this. Will you continue to live as a victim of the words in your own head, or will you rise as their master? The choice is yours. But I tell you this with certainty. Once you master your inner conversation, once you become the commander of your own voice, you will no longer live in hesitation or fear. You will live in strength, in clarity, and in freedom. That is the true power of talking to yourself. That is how you transform not only your mind, but your entire life. 9. Build an unbreakable identity through self-talk. Everything you do, every action you take, every decision you make flows from one source, your identity. The way you see yourself, the image you carry inside, the story you repeat about who you are. And where does that story come from? It comes from the words you speak to yourself every single day. Your self-talk is not just a momentary influence. It is not just a tool for motivation in the morning or comfort at night. Your self-talk is the sculptor of your identity, shaping you moment by moment into the person you believe yourself to be. If you want to live a powerful life, you must build an unbreakable identity. And that begins with mastering the words you use to describe yourself. When I was a young man, I could have accepted the identity the world tried to hand me. People told me I was too small, too foreign, too different to ever succeed in a Western world. They told me I would never be respected in Hollywood, that no one wanted to see someone like me on their screens. If I had accepted those voices, if I had allowed them to become my self-talk, then my identity would have been shaped by their limits. I would have lived in the prison of someone else's opinion. But I refused. I told myself a different story. I declared, I am not limited by how others see me. I am not defined by the narrow vision of their imagination. I am Bruce Lee. I am a creator, a fighter, a philosopher, a teacher, and I will define myself. Those words, spoken daily with conviction, shaped an identity so strong that no amount of rejection could break it. Understand this. Your identity is not fixed. You are not born with a permanent definition. Identity is a construction, and the bricks are the words you repeat to yourself. Each time you say, I am weak, I am unlucky, I am a failure, You place a brick of weakness into your foundation. Each time you say, I am strong, I am disciplined, I am capable, you place a brick of power into your foundation. Over years, those bricks become a wall, a fortress, a structure you live inside. If you are not careful, you will build yourself a prison. If you are intentional, you will build yourself a temple. I learned this deeply when I suffered my back injury. The doctors told me I might never practice martial arts again if I had accepted their words into my identity, if I had begun to tell myself, I am broken, I am finished, I am a man who once was strong but now is weak, then I would have surrendered my future. But I spoke differently. I told myself I am not finished. My body may be injured, but my spirit is whole. My art is not only in my body, it is in my mind, my philosophy, my vision. This is not the end of my story, it is the sharpening of my story. Those affirmations did not erase my pain, but they protected my identity. And because I preserved my identity, I preserved my power to heal, to adapt, to return stronger than ever. The problem for most people is that they let their identity be written by accident. They repeat careless phrases. I am lazy, I am unlucky, I am always tired, I am not good enough. They think they are only expressing feelings, but what they are really doing is carving those words into the stone of their identity. Over time, they begin to live as though those words are truth. They create habits that match those beliefs. They walk into opportunities already defeated because their self-talk convinced them they are not worthy. They imprison themselves with their own voice. But here is the power you must recognize. Identity is fluid, and you can rewrite it with conscious self-talk. If you begin to speak to yourself with strength, if you tell yourself daily, I am disciplined, I am resilient, I am learning, I am growing, I am becoming better every day, those words begin to form a new identity. And once your identity changes, your actions follow naturally. A man who sees himself as disciplined will act disciplined. A man who sees himself as weak will act weak. A man who sees himself as unstoppable will act unstoppable. This is why self-talk is not just about momentary motivation. It is about building an identity so strong that no setback, no insult, no rejection can break it. For the next 3 days, I want you to deliberately speak into your identity. Each morning, do not just affirm random positive thoughts. Choose identity statements. Tell yourself, I am the kind of person who follows through. I am the kind of person who does not quit. I am the kind of person who grows stronger under pressure. I am the kind of person who is disciplined in mind, body, and spirit. Repeat them until they sink into your bones. Because the more you affirm them, the more your subconscious accepts them, and the more your actions begin to prove them true. Do not underestimate this practice. Every great achievement in my life began with a clear identity spoken into existence. Before I was known as a martial artist, I declared, I am a martial artist. Before I was seen as a teacher, I declared, I am a teacher. Before I was respected as a philosopher, I declared, I am a thinker, a creator of ideas. The world did not give me these identities. I gave them to myself. And then I lived them into reality. You must do the same. Stop waiting for the world to recognize you before you recognize yourself. Stop waiting for others to approve you before you approve yourself. Speak into your identity and then live it until the world has no choice but to see you as you see yourself. Now listen carefully. Building an unbreakable identity does not mean you never feel doubt. It does not mean you never face fear. It means that when doubt and fear come, they bounce off the fortress of your self-talk. They may knock on the door, but they do not control the house. Your affirmations are the guards that protect your spirit. When the critic inside says, "You are not enough," your guard responds, "I am more than enough because I continue to grow." When fear says, "You cannot handle this," your guard answers, "I can handle this step by step, breath by breath, because I am resilient." For 3 days, take this seriously. Every time you hear yourself describe who you are, listen carefully. If the words are weak, replace them immediately. If you say, "I am not disciplined," change it to, "I am building discipline daily." If you say, "I am always failing," change it to, "I am learning through every attempt and growing stronger." If you say, "I am not worthy of success," change it to, "I am worthy because I am willing to fight, to improve, and to rise." These small corrections, repeated daily, become the bricks of a new identity.
In time, you will notice something powerful. The same situations that once made you collapse will no longer shake you because your identity has changed. The insults that once cut deep will no longer penetrate because your self-talk has already affirmed your worth. The failures that once broke your spirit will become stepping stones because your identity tells you that failure is only feedback. This is what it means to build an unbreakable identity.
So remember this, your identity is not written by fate. It is not given by others. It is created by you through the constant stream of words you allow into your mind. If you speak weakness, you will live weak. If you speak strength, you will live strong. If you speak discipline, you will live disciplined. And once your identity becomes unbreakable, no challenge, no critic, no circumstance will have the power to control you. You will be unstoppable, not because life is easy, but because you are anchored in who you are. Speak into your identity, shape it with intention, protect it with discipline. For 3 days, practice this with focus, and you will begin to feel the shift. Do it for 3 weeks, and you will notice your actions changing. Do it for 3 months, and you will no longer recognize the weak version of yourself you once carried. Do it for a lifetime, and you will become a master not only of martial arts, not only of philosophy, but of life itself. 10. Align your words, actions, and spirit. A man's true strength is not measured by the speed of his fists, the power of his kicks, or the size of his muscles. His true strength is measured by alignment, the harmony between his words, his actions, and his spirit. Too many people speak one way, act another way, and live in a manner that betrays the very spirit within them. They say they want discipline, yet their actions feed laziness. They say they want strength, yet their words are filled with weakness. They say they want freedom, yet their daily choices make them slaves. This disconnection is the greatest weakness of the human being. And if you want to become unshakable, if you want to live with power and authenticity, then you must align what you speak, what you do, and who you are inside. I learned this lesson not only through philosophy, but through life itself. In the martial arts world, I saw many who talked endlessly about mastery, but never trained with consistency. Their words were loud, but their actions were silent. And because of this, their spirit weakened. They lived as illusions, not as realities. I refused to live like that. I told myself that every word I spoke must be backed by action, and every action must reflect my inner spirit. If I said I would train, I trained. If I said I would teach, I taught with all my heart. If I said I would push beyond limits, I bled for that promise. And because of this, people felt authenticity in me. They could see that my philosophy was not empty, but alive. Words are powerful, but they mean nothing if they are not lived. A man who says, "I am disciplined," but does not rise in the morning when the alarm rings is lying to himself. A man who says, "I am strong," but hides at the first sign of struggle is betraying himself. A man who says, "I will build a future," but spends every day wasting time and energy is destroying himself. This misalignment between words and actions creates weakness in the spirit. The more often you live out of alignment, the more hollow you become. You start to distrust yourself. You begin to feel that your own promises are empty, and nothing destroys a man faster than losing faith in his own word. But alignment, when your words, your actions, and your spirit walk in the same direction, creates a force that cannot be broken. When you say, "I am disciplined," and then you act with discipline, your spirit grows stronger. When you declare, "I am focused," and your actions show focus, your spirit sharpens. When you tell yourself, "I will not quit," and you keep going through pain and failure, your spirit becomes unshakable. Each time you live in alignment, you are teaching your subconscious mind to trust you, to believe in you, to follow you. And once your mind believes, once your spirit trusts you, your entire being becomes unstoppable. I remember countless times when alignment saved me. When my back was injured and doctors told me I would never practice martial arts again, I did not allow my words to betray my actions or my spirit. I said, "I will heal, I will return, I will continue my journey." And then I acted according to those words, rehabilitating day after day, training my body slowly, strengthening my mind, feeding my spirit with philosophy and focus. My words gave direction, my actions gave proof, and my spirit gave energy. Because they were aligned, I came back stronger, not weaker. If I had said one thing and acted differently, my spirit would have collapsed. Alignment was the foundation that allowed me to rise again. Most people do not realize how destructive misalignment is. They think that breaking promises to themselves is harmless. They say, "I will wake early tomorrow," and when they do not, they laugh it off. They say, "I will stop complaining," but the next day they complain again and pretend it does not matter. But every broken word is a crack in the foundation of your spirit. Every misalignment teaches your mind that you cannot be trusted. Over time, you stop believing yourself. You no longer take your own words seriously because deep inside you know they are hollow. That is why so many people cannot change. They do not trust their own voice anymore. This is why alignment must be trained daily. Every morning, when you affirm discipline, do not let it be only words. Back it up with action. If you say, "I will train today," then train, even if you are tired. If you say, "I will stay calm in the face of anger," then act calmly even when your blood boils. If you say, "I will build success," then spend your hours building instead of wasting them. Every time you prove your words through action, your spirit learns that your word is law. And when your spirit learns this, you become unstoppable, because you will never doubt yourself again. For the next 3 days, I want you to test this alignment. Begin your mornings by speaking your affirmations clearly. I am disciplined, I am strong, I am focused, I am unshakable. Then spend your day proving those words with action. Do not allow even the smallest promise to be broken. If you say you will do 10 push-ups, do them. If you say you will write for 1 hour, write. If you say you will control your temper, control it. It does not matter how small the action is. What matters is that your actions match your words. Each small alignment builds a chain of trust, and with enough repetition, that chain becomes unbreakable. Understand this. Alignment is not about perfection. You will make mistakes. You will fall short. But the key is to always correct yourself, to return to alignment as quickly as possible. If you say you will train and you miss a session, do not let the critic inside say, "See, you are weak." Correct it by saying, "I missed today, but tomorrow I will double my effort." If you lose your temper after declaring calmness, correct it immediately. "I slipped, but I am learning control, and I will practice again." Alignment is not about never failing. It is about refusing to live in failure. It is about constantly pulling your words, your actions, and your spirit back into harmony. When your words, actions, and spirit are aligned, people can feel it. They can see that your confidence is not arrogance, but authenticity. They can sense that your discipline is not for show, but for growth. They can tell that your strength is not only in your body, but in your spirit. Alignment creates presence. It creates power. It creates an aura that others respect without you needing to demand it. Because when you live in alignment, you are not pretending to be anything. You are being exactly what you say you are. This is why alignment is the highest form of self-talk. It is not only about what you tell yourself, but about proving those words through living. It is the unity of thought, word, and action. And when those three are one, there is no weakness in you. There is no gap for fear to enter, no crack for doubt to slip through, no space for hesitation to grow. You become whole, and a whole man cannot be broken. So I ask you this: are your words, actions, and spirit aligned? Or are you betraying yourself by speaking one way and living another? If you want to build an unshakable mind, if you want to live as a master of yourself, begin this practice today. Align what you say with what you do. Align what you do with who you are. Align who you are with what you believe. This is the path to true power. This is the path to true freedom. This is the path to becoming not just strong in body, but unbreakable in spirit. For 3 days, live in alignment, and you will feel the difference. For 3 weeks, you will see the difference in your habits and your energy. For 3 months, you will become the kind of person who no longer doubts, no longer hesitates, no longer breaks his own word. And for a lifetime, you will be remembered as someone whose words were law, whose actions were proof, and whose spirit was pure. That is what it means to live as a true warrior, as a true creator, as a true human being. That is what it means to master the art of self-talk. Now you have heard it, 10 powerful lessons that can transform not only the way you think, but the way you live. I have shared with you how I spoke to myself, how I fought my inner battles, how I trained my mind just as fiercely as I trained my body. I told you about clarity, about replacing weak words with strong ones, about commanding your energy, and about talking to pain like a master. I showed you how to speak into your future, how to silence the critic inside, how to affirm discipline every morning, how to master your inner conversation, how to build an unshakable identity, and how to align your words, actions, and spirit. But remember, these are not just ideas to be admired. They are practices to be lived. Too many people listen, nod their heads, and then return to the same habits, the same self-talk, the same patterns that keep them weak. I am telling you, do not let these words die in your ears. Carry them into your life. For the next 3 days, test them. For 3 weeks, practice them. For 3 months, live them. And then look at the man or woman you have become. You will not recognize the old version of yourself. You must understand this clearly. The battle is not outside of you. It was never the opponent in the ring. It was never the critic in the crowd. It was never the obstacles in the world. The true battle is inside. The voice in your head is either your greatest ally or your worst enemy. If you master it, if you command it, if you align it with your spirit and your actions, then no one, no opponent, no critic, no setback will ever be able to defeat you. But if you let it run wild, if you let it repeat weakness, if you let it control you without discipline, then you will live as a slave, no matter how strong your body appears. So I leave you with this. Speak to yourself like a master, not like a victim. Train your inner voice with the same intensity you would train your fists. Build an identity that cannot be shaken. Align your words, your actions, and your spirit until they are one. If you do this, you will discover a power far greater than muscles or techniques. You will discover the unshakable spirit of a free human being. Do not waste another day. Begin now. Talk to yourself like this for 3 days, and you will feel the shift. Continue for weeks, and you will see the change. Commit for a lifetime, and you will never again live as the same person. You will live as a master of yourself, and that, my friend, is the highest victory you can ever achieve.